All right. Like I finally went live. I think I don't know. Let's see how this thing works. Okay. Let me get into the Shema first. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this by the way, and when thou frontless eyes, and thou shalt write them upon the post of thy house and on thy gates. All right. Just wanted to start there with Shema. So today, what I'm going to get into with my um, non-audience, but I'm still going to talk nonetheless. So I need to post this up. So today we're going to talk about spiritual warfare and get into a little bit what we're dealing with right now. We are headlong into a spiritual war and a battle, whether you like it or not, whether you want to be in it or not. It's time to pick sides. The Most High, with the Most High God, and you're serving Him, and you're following His law, statutes, and commandments, or you're on the other side, or maybe you may be struggling somewhere in between, trying to figure it out. One of the things that continue to come up again and again, especially on social media, TikTok, and all of those things, is people keep jumping on there with witchcraft. There's a lot of witchcraft going on right before our eyes. People are doing witchcraft. They even telling you they're doing witchcraft against you, doing witchcraft on you. They're threatening people with witchcraft. And some people are making witchcraft look like it's something that we should all get into. Obviously, there's reasons why we should not all get into witchcraft. So you're starting to see a lot of it. As we're getting down to that point right now where we are at the initial point, an initial part of the end, as the end continues to advance itself. Okay, as far as prophecy is concerned, continue to be fulfilled, one thing after another, one thing after the next. So, my big thing is don't follow false prophets right now. That is huge. Make sure you're careful who you're listening to, how they pull you in. When somebody is talking and speaking about scripture and they're trying to draw you into a point where they want you to feel as if you have no knowledge of anything and that they're the only that kind of feeling like you gotta go through somebody in order to seek salvation and stuff like that. Just know that the Most High does not work like that. So people making it seem like you got to be on their team some kind of way in order to actually receive salvation and all of this kind of stuff. That is not the way it goes. And I'm not saying that it's not in scripture to congregate and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean that you have to follow people into oblivion. Just like it says in the New Testament, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, you're supposed to do what they say, not what they do. I mean, obviously, you got to be careful how you follow people, and if you're following the law and you're focusing on the law and those things, then you don't need people to come and intervene for you and all of this kind of stuff like that. That's when it gets kind of messy. That's when you start, having to be behind somebody's, you know, version of whatever it is of the scriptures, really, because people twist the scriptures to be whatever they want it to be. So, from one end to the next. So, if you don't, especially if you don't have like those, if you haven't had real encounters with the spirit, with the spiritual, and I know a lot of us have had real encounters with the spiritual, then you don't know. And when I say with the spiritual, I mean just what I'm saying. The spirit of witchcraft. I've seen witchcraft. I've experienced witchcraft as far as being a target of it and all of these kind of things. So again, um, we are all a target of witchcraft at some point, and it's just whether or not you know. What do you know about it? What do you know about living in the spirit world and what spiritual things are going on around you? Like I say, a lot of people are coming onto TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that with YouTube Short saying, don't wait for anybody to come out of the sky to save you and all of this kind of stuff like that, and that you need to basically live your life as heaven on earth right now. And I'm just saying to that, what does that mean? It's almost like, the material world comes in, and that's what Satan um, hopes you think carnally, that you drop all the thoughts of the spiritual world, and that you say, let me get everything that I can out of this life while I'm living it. You start looking at material things and all that kind of stuff like that, and it's like, that shouldn't be something that you should be viewing anyway as um, valuable in the first place. You shouldn't be viewing material things as of value. And if you see the people who have come before us, like Christ and stuff like that, and there is no point where Christ is like, get whatever it is you can get out of this religions around the but people who get it and twist it and change it into what they want to. But when you look at Buddhism or whatever, you see the same kind of theme that happens throughout this. You have a guy who was a prince and had all this wealth and everything like that, and then he abandoned the wealth and everything to find, enlightenment. Um, or on a search, he was, when you have money and when you have material, when you have comforts and you have all of those things, it doesn't necessarily and I want to say, no, if you have the right mind frame, no matter what condition you're from that condition, based upon what's your thoughts. You know what I mean? Like whether you're at the top or the bottom, what's your thought process? There's people at the top who still doing stuff like committing suicide, and people who are not in, as I've talked about before, people who supposed to be billionaires and stuff like that, who get their assets frozen and their money frozen and all this kind of stuff. So what wealth do we really have when you got people who can just close it down whenever they want to? It's just creature comforts. That's all it is. Resources, availability to resources, and creature comforts. And they want to make sure that you're uncomfortable in your lifestyle, because they need somebody to want their lifestyle. So, um, you know, I got this nice car, I got these chains, I got all of this stuff, but do I have a soul? What have I done with my soul? And you see a lot of these people have already, they sold their soul. And if they could, they would turn back. They don't want it. They don't want to to really be out of their soul. So I mean, they try and, what do they do when they figure that they then went too far, when they done sold they soul for material things on this world and everything like that. So if you think that's worth it, then by all means, that's the lifestyle that you need to engage yourself with. And that's all that witchcraft and all that kind of stuff, grasping for straws and trying to live a life, this material life of now. And when you get that material stuff and when you move up to that stratosphere of having money and comforts and all that whole thing went down. So again, you can believe what you want to believe, but um, like I said, being thankful for the blessings and everything like that we already have, and sometimes the real things that we have around us and everything like that mean more than just having a bunch of resources and cash on hand, because you and I hate to use this as an example, but for like Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, all those people who came and was had money and comfort and all this kind of stuff, and then you have a controversial death where you don't even know. We know what you want to buy. What freedom is that? I mean, Michael Jackson bought the whole Sony thing. They captured him and they murked him. Maybe, but the fact is that's out there. Uh, Whitney Houston and her possible catalog and stuff like that. I'm just talking about musicians, but there's a lot of people who end up in this whole situation where when you think you got enough money and enough clout to do certain things, I can say Prince, who was putting young people up on game, young black people up on game, a lot of young artists and comedians and stuff like that. I think Prince was running the game down to a lot of people. He really came out of it and just was letting them know, don't screw yourself over. This is what you should do things like. So they already had it in. Sell your soul. You want to go to that next level or whatever, then you could end up in that next level, that next stratosphere. Look at all those people. Look at the people from Boeing. I know everybody talking about that right now. Who um, went and blew whistles. I know they had nice cushy jobs at Boeing. They thought that it was going to be able to tell the truth because they think we living in a world where these corporations don't have responsibilities for nothing. A corporation can do anything to you, and ain't nobody about to get no consequences or nothing like that. It's a corporation. Corporation can murk you all day and all night. They do it all the time with the drugs and everything else. If they kill you, they kill you. I mean, as long as you can keep corporation on it instead of you could think the corporation did it all you want to. You could say Boeing did it. Who gonna take responsibility for that? Not one person. Not one person. So unless they got a scapegoat somewhere, and sometimes they do have scapegoats somewhere, somebody who's gonna take the fall for the whole enchilada, so to speak. Um, so as I said last time, I was gonna um, filled in on what happened with this whole warrant thing out of California for me, uh, which I already know. It's them folks doing what they do. Like I said, so I'm interested and still curious. I've called down there. I haven't been successful at finding any answers. I've called Riverside County. Riverside, oh, we can't check anything outside of Riverside County, so we can't see whether or not you have a warrant. Now, if I was in Riverside County and I was getting pulled over, I bet you they'll see that warrant all day long, whatever California jurisdiction this warrant is supposed to be in. So, yeah, that's the information I'm getting. So now it's like, get your own background check to find out why Customs and Border Patrol, why the folks there want to stop you, and you have some random warrant out of California where it's like, huh? I mean, just you can be more clueless. Just pull it out of the ether, and then you gotta go run around and find out what they talking about because they give it to you, but they don't give it all. I know it's to block me. I know it's to stop me from doing certain things that they don't want me to do in the open. And when I mean out in the open, I mean it, to yourself when you open your mouth. You don't even have to open your mouth nowadays because that's what kind of spiritual fight we're in. All right, I know we're 15 minutes in. Let me get into the spiritual thing. Uh, but I wanted to talk about the spiritual warfare because we're in the midst of it, and I think a lot of us are not aware of the spiritual warfare. These people are getting away with this stuff right in front of us. This I don't know where I can put this documentary. If I put it down in the description or whatever. But either way, I'm gonna share a little bit with you on this documentary. And this documentary is ex Satanist and high-ranking African warlock encounters Jesus. The James Kawala interview. So I watched it. My wife, my spouse have watched it and everything, and we talk about it. We discuss certain things on this documentary often because it's really showing you the front lines of how what we're up against, and he's sharing a lot as far as what he used to do on when he was doing all of this witchcraft. We don't know that the Vatican and all of these other people are doing witchcraft against effective prayer groups together. They will find you and they will is talking about all this stuff, and it's just like, yo, that's crazy that is that way. That we're not alone, but we make ourselves alone by not really responding to it in the right way. What we need is bigger prayer groups, people coming together and praying together, and knowing that while you're praying and everything, and while you're putting this stuff together, you got to watch out because Satan's always going to send something amongst the people to divide the people and get the people working against each other because he doesn't want up against them. He don't want us calling out to the Most High together. That just calls his time. So you gotta really just um, we gotta become better. Verses 10 through 18. Okay, and it says, "Finally, my brethren, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Uh, Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with the truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplications in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what we're supposed to be doing. These things, especially you have to make sure you got on the belt of truth. You got to, that's the orientation of God. God's going to give you that orientation of right, because if you're oriented the way that you need to be facing, that belt is important. And you see it's in the midsection where it balances you out as a person, right? It balances you out. It gives you balance. It holds you up. It's the centerpiece of this armor that we need to wear. It's the centerpiece of this armor. You got to have truth first, because if you don't have truth, you can't start from anything. You have to have that truth first. It's so important to be oriented the right way first, right? Um, so, and then the peace times, you got to have that same peace that Christ had at the bottom of the boat when everybody flipping out and the storm is there and they thinking that it's going to be the end and all of this kind of stuff like that. He woke up and he just quelled the storm real quick. So You got to have that same peace that Christ had during that time frame, as calm as he was in the storm. You got to have that. And that means not giving into fear, not giving into anxiety. This is a psychological battle, and this is what I keep mentally, right? So you got to have peace, even though peace may not be around you, may not be reflected back to you, and all this kind of stuff. You got to have peace no matter what. But that comes in your true faith and belief, and that's why that shield is there, making sure you got that shield of faith. That shield of faith is all the stuff that happened to Joseph. Joseph had to wait how many years to be delivered from what his brothers put him into. It don't even tell you how many years between him being enslaved by the betrayal of his brothers, all the way down from the betrayal to uh, being Potiphar's house. It's Potiphar, yeah, being in his house, his wife coming after him going getting thrown into prison. The whole time, when you see how Joseph was operating, Joseph still had peace the whole time. It don't really tell you like that couldn't have been easy, right? Everything that he had to go through in order to get to where the Most High wanted him to be as the second guy in command of the whole kingdom when it came down to it, and saving all the peoples in the world, and with his with the glorification of what the Most High wanted to use him for, where he finally got to. It doesn't tell you that Joseph complained to the Lord. It doesn't tell you all of this. Joseph was asking, why me? Why is this happening to me? We don't, you don't see that in the stories, in the character that Joseph had. He just held out. You know you're being railroaded. You know that it ain't fair. But he just continued to believe in the Most High God, who sent him these dreams, and he say, "Look, I can, I can work for the Most High. I'm having these dreams that the Most High has given me, and this is gonna end up." He just knew he was connected with the Most High God, in all the misery that we would see and say that he went through. Again, you know, he had to have on the whole armor of God. He had to have faith with. He had to have the truth with him all the time, knowing that he didn't deserve all the stuff that he was going through, that it was something that he had to go through, that the Most High wanted to temper him in and test him in. And when he got to the point of where he went, this is a testimony or a testament to the Most High's power to take you from being at the bottom of a cell at the you could see it in Jonah too, from the bottom of a cell or the bottom of the well, from that place, and 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 elevate you to the position that you're supposed to be in life, and making sure that the Most High is the only one who gets the glory and all of those different things. And the enemy doesn't want that to happen. So the enemy's going to come at you like he did Job and shake his life, shake your life, and try to make sure that you come out of it. He wants you to have that armor, and you got to be prepared. You know, you have to have on that breastplate of righteousness and all this kind of stuff to do the right thing. Put in the same position that Joseph was in. This woman came at him. She had this power, right? She had this power over him, and then she was going to apply pressure to get him to do bend to her will. This is what Satan does, right? And Tim he had all of the reasoning to go ahead and lay down with this woman, and just be like, she's the one who had the power, so I just had to go along with whatever she said do, instead of saying, this dude who I call him master, okay, or whatever. This dude is a pretty cool dude to me. Like I'm not in a bad situation. Like this dude is cool. Why would I'm not about to smash, you know? Like nah, I'll just take whatever. I know. So Joseph made the right decision. He still had faith. He still that was righteousness. That was a righteous thing for Joseph to do to make sure that he wasn't laying with another man's wife. He already got all of this stuff. He still didn't give up on the Most High. He didn't, and you see that as a thing on the Most High, making sure that you have all these things: the breastplate of righteousness, the gospel of peace as the shoes, the shield of faith, the helmet of salvation, right? The sword of the spirit. So you're using the word of God as a sword of the spirit, as Christ did when he was in the wilderness, right? You got to have all these things, all these things on you while you going through this. Of us don't even know that we are at war psychologically and all this kind of stuff. You think you having mental depression kind of stuff and all these emotional disorders and dysfunctions. A pill is not gonna fix it. A pill is just gonna open you up to another gate of hell, of addiction, of wrong. That's what a pill is gonna do. That pill is not gonna resolve your issues. It's not gonna. It's not gonna get there. You are depressed because you are losing the spiritual battle. And a lot of times we don't know we're in a spiritual battle. And Satan uses all of these people, these principalities and powers, as we say, it's carnal war. It's not something that you're going to be able to fight with your fist. It's not something you're going to be able to fight with uh, some kind of weapon, pew pew. Any kind of weaponry or anything like that you use. It's a physical thing. It's not going to help you. It's going to push you over into that carnal place where you don't need to be. So we got to make sure that we're not thinking in the carnal world, and that we're walking in the spirit while we're having this battle. Because if you doing this and you living and you having this battle and you know um, you're having this battle and everything like that, um, you know, there's gonna be there's gonna be a long fight. There's gonna be a long fight until you realize this is not a carnal. It's gonna be or it's gonna be a short fight because you're gonna do something stupid. That's why they got all these automatic clause in the matrix for you to commit these automatic clauses and get yourself put wherever. There's gonna be injustice. There's gonna be evil and wickedness. There was injustice in Joseph's life. There was injustice in Job's life. And you can go on and on with the main characters of the scriptures as you go through the prophets and everything. A lot of times there was injustice in their lives, but that was and the Most High showing you you got to persevere through that. You got to persevere the spiritual storm that you're gonna go through. And on the other side of that spiritual storm, the only way you're gonna get through the spiritual storm is making sure that you have on all your armor every day and you ready to fight this fight. Because a lot of us don't know we're in this fight. Let me share a little bit of this doc, oh, documentary if I can. Very useful. Jesus, and you'll get the thing, the interview that pops up. Like I said, there's a lot in that in that testimony that you can see. Now there's other testimonies of witchcraft and people turning back to where they're supposed to turn to the most high and everything like that. But witchcraft gives people a sense of power and all of these kind of things like that. They just don't know that there's a, well, some of them don't know. You don't know until you get deep into it, that there's a price to be. It's always going to end up being a life, some kind of way, shape, or form. And you see all of these celebrities and stuff like that who pay the price of their relatives, somebody, some close relative or something like that. So it is, there's a price to be paid for it. Remember, there's no Christ on, on the side of them like that. So as far as we're concerned, the price already been paid by Christ. So you know, we already are redeemed in that way. But Satan often requires and got to be close to you. Even Satan requires a sacrifice. You to sacrifice something that you actually value, that you actually, somebody you actually love, somebody who actually means something to you, and that's the price right there. If you look at that now, um, we're looking at read here real quick, Second Corinthians chapter 10 and verse starting at verse 3. So and this is talking about Paul emphasizing that weapons of spiritual warfare are not carnal, as I just talked about, but are mighty through down the strongholds, casting down imaginations, and taking every thought captive to obey Christ. Every thought captive to obey Christ. Woo! Paul just said something right there. Paul said, taking captive every thought. Wow. If you look at the scale of how we think, how many thoughts we have in a day, and all of this kind of stuff like that, and we're supposed to capture every thought to make sure that it is obedient unto the Lord. And we know we have repetitive thoughts, things that either iniquity covers you up for you, right? The iniquity is always moving levels, right? Darkness and light and all of this kind of stuff like that. So you can drown in iniquities by, this is something that you are not denying yourself, right? If you're denying your iniquities, then you got to understand that you're stopping something from having you. That's our responsibility. That's how we stay obedient. That's how we become obedient to Scripture and to the Word. And that's why we do stuff like fast and pray in disciplined manners. If we're not doing that and we're not being disciplined with that, then we often end up under the bus where we don't need, where we want to be, we don't want to be, and we don't need to be. So anyway, Second Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3 through 5. For though we walk flesh, we do not war after the flesh. Okay. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but means of Christ. As three people from a church, a local church there in Chicago, walked through, and they were doing some good. They were looking to feed people and all of this kind of stuff. And I every time I deal with a person who is going to church and stuff like that nowadays, I can't help but it pulls me right into the thought of witchcraft and what their actual reasonings are, because this is a lot of witchcraft behind the church right now. There's a lot of people there's been witchcraft in the church and destruction of true people who are believers in Christ, and then they get caught up in this witchcraft. Um, that's just not the real church. It's not the real church. Those are not the real people, um, and they don't have the real history, the true history, or anything like that. So there's so much so much there's so much people who really, like I said, have a form of godliness, but they don't know who God, who the Most High really is, and they don't understand the story behind it because they accepted the Christianity that was given to us and beaten it to us through the Catholic Church, um, which was uh, which was part of the conquering, right? Um, is to reassign who the Most High is and assign who we are as a people all together, right? And division, 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 divide and conquer, divide all these people up and make them feel like they're different people. Even today, we have this battle between Africans and Black Americans who, you know, who's better, who's sold out, who's giving in, who's doing this, who's doing that. Um, why we don't like each other, people from Africa versus people from blacks who they keep doing, all Satan is doing is keep introducing measures that cause division. That is a huge part of his warfare. Division, division, division. That's why they say divide and conquers first and foremost. And who moves like that? You got to start wondering who moves like that. Who in the earth is dividing and conquering people? Who's using that technique? Who's using that? Are who's working for Satan? Who's working for principalities and powers who are doing evil in this earth? Breaking down governments. Who's destroying? You know, all this. Who's doing all this stuff in the earth that is wicked? So we just they're telling you who they are and what they doing and their functions and what they're doing. And if you take a government agency with they road and what we've been practicing here in the Western Hemisphere for all of these years and all this kind of stuff, and you think that anybody in South America with all of the people of God, the true people of God, who don't know that they're the people of God, who don't know that they're the chosen of God, who don't know all of these things, um, us being the majority in the Western Hemisphere, just like we are in the Eastern Hemisphere, us being the majority of people on this planet. I mean, you got the Asians and everything. This society, there's still us in great multitudes. That's already spiritual warfare. Okay, you're a minority. That's already spiritual warfare. And the marauders over here doing anything to these places. We are in control. The same people as me is in control of the entire world, period. But that's why they're keeping the, the status in America itself, but they're keeping the status quo all over the world. You know, The divide and conquer is that we hate each other, and we have all these problems with not only hating immigrants who are from Africa, each other, right? They keep black men and black women can't even get along to keep the family going. Who's behind that? We keep pointing fingers at each other when the culprit is the serpent. He's been doing this. He's been on this thing, and the serpent seed is doing his work. So we keep on going, getting, uh, allowing ourselves to be divided. The thing that the people who are us should be doing right now is us making food for us, supporting black farmers, supporting black farms, getting to know about black farms. What can we do to support black farms? That's number one. You got to be able to feed your nation before you're a nation to stand up in anything. If your enemy is feeding you, then you're never going to be fed the right thing. When does your enemy go want you to be stronger? Your enemy's going to do whatever they can do to break you down. Why would they do anything else? You think everything in the supermarkets and the grocery stores, those things are all people saying this type of stuff. But like I said, we're in a spiritual warfare. We're in a eating. All of that stuff has to do with what's going on. But they just keep us distracted by division, right? What rapper you gonna go for? Kendrick or Drake? They keep dividing us, and we keep falling for it. We gotta stop falling for the division. That's the trick. It will keep splitting, and instead of listening to the truth, now you don't have the belt of of truth on at that point, because your focus, your orientation is focused on something, on a complete and utter useless argument that doesn't even really exist. But you're gonna, you go along with it. You don't just keep on following on in to these false arguments and pointing the finger at the wrong people when that's why they call us children, because we haven't figured out who's really throwing the rocks. We keep fighting each other. It's like, you know, that person throwing the rocks from, you know, I mean, we think it's coming from each other, come from somebody else. Well, read here James 4, James 4 and 7. Okay, this also Satan, and he will flee from you. It highlights the importance of humility and submission to the Most High's authority in spiritual battles. You can't win spiritual battles without submission to the Most High. Because if you're not going to submit to the Most High, they're going to make sure you submit to something, right? We just, they're going to submit you to something. All right. So, James, this is James chapter 4, verse 7. Submit yourselves, therefore, to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, and ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double minded. Be afflicted, and mourn, and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy to heaviness. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and I mean, and then this goes into what I was just saying. I just read more than I should read there, but I'm glad I did. So I'm gonna keep going right here because it says, "Speak no evil of one another," and this is where we go wrong, and this is what I'm talking about. Speak no either evil of one of another, brethren. He that speaketh evil of his brother and judgeth his brother speaketh evil of the law and judgeth the law. But if thou judge the law, thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge. So We do that all the time. That's gossip and stuff like that. Once people benefit from this person, why are they bringing me this information? How does this benefit anybody in this situation? Even if this person is guilty of something or something like that, well, why is this person seed? They work for the serpent seed. They are out there to do damage of Satan and keep your orientation off. That's why it's important to one another. God's going to have, the Most High is going to have the judgment, the last judgment, and it's not in our hands. But we got people who always want to run somebody up a rope, and people are willing to say, when they going into, even now, people are saying, "Oh yeah, capital punishment, yeah. Yeah, well, they got mistakes. They make mistakes and everything like that. It's not going to be 100%. Okay, what about these people who are dying, innocently dying by the hand of the state? And is this okay? The blood is not on the hands of the people who sent this man to be executed by the system. Experiencing all of these things. These things we're in we're in the midst of a spiritual battle. A lot of us don't know that we need to be prayer warriors. We need to get into prayer, and and we need to get into prayer hard. Some of us do feel it, and some of us do see it and everything. So but it's time to tighten up, and not tighten up in a of like tight. um, as far as getting nervous, should be celebrating what we're going through if we're continuously and we're still going through the things that um, his followers, the followers of Christ, the true followers of Christ, are going to be going through. We should be, as he said, we should be being persecuted. We should find persecution. We should find affliction. We should find all of these things that Christ found in this world. You are in trouble. I'm talking about some spiritual trouble. If you're comfortable, I know I'm not comfortable because they making sure that I'm not. I gotta persevere. I gotta keep having this fight, and I know I gotta keep having this fight. And I can't get tired. You're gonna fall. Can you get up after falling? How many times can you get up? Right? How many times did Christ get up when he was carrying his cross? It's a lot that we must keep. It says in First Peter chapter 5 and verse 8 and 9. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Whom resist steadfast in faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. You see, we gotta persevere. We gotta persevere. You gotta be vigilant because your adversary is as a roaring lion, as a roaring lion that walketh about seeking whom he may devour. We are in this. This is not coming. This is happening right now. It's happening right now. And we got to stand up and we got to resist. Okay? We got to resist, like it says. You're not the only one going to go through this. You're not the only one going through this. If you listen to these people who right now, get it while you can, all of this kind of stuff like that, and you're not maintaining and holding yourself, if you've been through something spiritually, you know what I'm talking about. You've already been through it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You see the war. You see the battle. You've experienced the Most High. You've seen the face of the enemy. And if you fool enough to fold your table, fold your car, the seat down and all this kind of stuff, and go home, it's just now getting started. It's just now getting started. We just now getting started. So don't be deterred. Don't give in. It's time to put your all behind your efforts. Don't don't capitulate. They gon' they gonna keep coming at you. They gonna throw everything they can at you. They trying to throw stuff and make it stick. They want something to really stink you up, and you think it's just happening. They've done everything and thrown everything at you. Just keep on fighting. Okay, excuse me. Do not talk about the temptation of Christ in the wilderness. Showed the direct confrontation between Christ and Satan, and then it talks to you about how Christ combats Satan's temptation by quoting scripture. He quotes Matthew 4 and 1. 1 through 11. It says, okay, I'll just get on the right thing, y'all. Okay, Matthew 4, chapter 4, verse 1 through 11. Then was Christ led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was after and hungered. And when the tempter came to him, and he said, if thou be the Son of God, command these stones to be made bread. But he answered and said, Is it written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by the word that proceedeth from the holy city, and sitteth him on a pinnacle of the temple, and saith unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written that he shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. Uh, and Christ said unto the Lord thy God, again the devil talketh him up into the exceeding high mountain, and sheweth him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them, and saith unto him, All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then saith Christ unto him, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. So then the devil leaveth him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him. So we got to go through that same battle. We see that battle and we think, oh, okay, Christ was tempted and all of this kind of stuff like that. We're going to be tempted in the same way. That's what they mean when they say stuff like name your price. What is the price of your soul? When people are asking a question like, would you do this for $1 million, 2 million? People are really doing those things, and for way less. For way less, people are selling them. But we know that your soul is worth more than anything, as it says to you in Scripture, right? That definitely all the gold in the world, whatever. Um, we know Scripture to say that your soul is priceless, and so we sell ourselves for way cheap. And if you haven't sold yourself, then that means Satan is still coming for you. He's still doing all this dirt in your life. He's still coming with NAT and all of this kind of stuff. Accept all of that situation, and but glorify God in it, and understand that when it's all said and done, when it's all said and done, you're gonna have angels to come and minister to you, right, and take care of you, just like they took care of Christ. But you're gonna go through it. You have to go through it. He said you got to go through it. You think, as he said, you think that he's gonna have to endure all of that kind of stuff, and then we endure nothing? No, we got to endure the same stuff. He said, right? We're gonna have to endure for his sake. If you're saying Christ is your savior, you Christ came here to bleed for you, to redeem you, then you got to pay the same price Christ. You got to pay the same price that Christ did, and you got to do it willingly, and you got to, just like He did, and make sure that you understand that nothing is going to provoke you to give this um, that salvation up. Even they keep telling you, "Oh, we'll give you everything. You better get what you can get out of this earth, out of this world, out of this. Our life is but a vapor anyway. So we want to grow or anything like that, but that's just not true. You just appreciate what the Most High has given you, that, right? Because most of these things and most of these iniquities and everything are laden in that want, in that lack. We want something. We lack something. We feel like we lack something. We feel like God is assigning a value to, and how much you willing to give your soul to this stuff. And a lot of people, the answer is yes. They'll sell their soul for it. I'm not one of them. I don't want nothing like that. I just want to serve the Most High. So if I can serve the Most High, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here to do. Am I perfect? Am I a person who don't do wrong? Am I a person who don't sin? I'm a sin. Almost like we all are sinners, right? I have my thorns just like Paul did, you know. And I'm not elevating myself up to the level that Paul was, but Paul was human. He was a servant of God, had his things that he struggled, lost his struggle, right? He was corrupt, and he struggled, and he realized it and he witnessed it at the wrong time frame when he wanted to go back and correct his mistake. It was too late. They knew better than to, even though they had already condemned themselves by doing the act, they thought it was better for them not to even accept the money back. You see how, on a universal level, on a universal scale, once they get you to sell your soul, they don't even want the money back. They didn't mean nothing to them in the first place to give you what they gave you. So you're gonna suffer that, and you're gonna keep that money in your hand. Immediately, you're gonna know that wasn't that wasn't worth it. What you just gave up was not worth it. Was not your life. Was not worth the life you had given up for it, and all of those kind of things. So persevere, maintain during this time. I know this time has so much struggle in it, in so many ways that the enemy is attacking. So to know you're enduring emotional pain, abandonment issues, whatever you're experiencing, focused on Him, and everything is going. He's gonna be all good. You're gonna be all good. Physically in this world, like, you just giving God what's God's. You're gonna render to Caesar what Caesar's. Spirit. That's your soul, right? Physical aspects of us. That's not what He created us for in the first place, necessarily. I mean, yeah, but that's not what we were created for. That's why we had to step down from where we were in the garden. Um, anyway, we got to get back behind the law, statutes, and commandments. That's the stuff that's going to keep us where we need to be. Like I said, I wish I had more time to show you about the African rock and the occult. A lot of the things that he talks about in there is actually going on these missions where they were the Vatican and everything. They look for these witches around the world, people who have the satanic power. And this old witch, you got all of this stuff going on these. All right, sorry, cat poop. Um, so, like I said, it's a lot of stuff that was going on there um, with this guy. Like I said, him being born into this kind of thing, and that's the life that he led. He teacher saying something to him and trying to do something with to him as far as being upset with him. I think he said it was five or something, but he was a teacher, and the teacher all of a sudden became blind and all this kind of stuff. Like, so I know everybody got their own little stories and stuff like that, but this guy talks about how he had power like that throughout his childhood and throughout his adulthood, and how they used him. They sent him on missions as well as other witches and wizards and warlocks and all this kind of stuff. So you got the Vatican who are sending people throughout the earth to do this evil, to do this wicked stuff. They flying people. They know where you move. If you got like, if you're spiritually powerful and you're a spiritual threat to them, then they start getting people on a mission against you. Okay. I've experienced some of this stuff where I've gone different places and people keep on popping up, and you know, it's witchcraft everywhere and all this kind of stuff like that. And you start understanding how there's way more involvement here than you thought it was from the beginning. So, but you know, if you got a prayer team together and stuff like that, just know that there's a prayer team working against you. You don't know it. You in the church, you got these people who are praying with you, and you don't think that there's an anti-prayer team that's in the region who is doing work against you already. They got these altars and all kinds of stuff around you, and you don't even know it. This dude goes down into a lot of things talking about how they move all these pieces and places, and you as the target never know that you're being targeted spiritually, that they're sending people to snuff out your spirit because your spirit is too powerful and they can't overcome you. So you never even know that they're doing all these things to discourage you, to encourage you to do wrong, to do whatever they can do. To It's a modern day Samson and Delilah thing, but they don't even have to entice you with. I mean, Samson and Delilah means more than just a woman enticing a man, right? It's the temptation of Satan, just keep continuously coming at us in different forms until there is success, right? Uh, it's the proverbial Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs thing too. Follow along that same story. You got protection around you and stuff like that. But not if you're naive enough, you be if you're vulnerable that time frame where those seven aren't around or whatever, then you're gonna end up in a situation where the evil's gonna get to you. Evil's gonna give you that one poison apple or whatever it needs. I know I'm using all these different little strange metaphors, but if you get what I'm saying, it's just they're gonna keep coming in different disguises until they find the right poison apple for you. Why they use a why they use a poison apple in the first place in that whole getup? Think about that for a minute. But anyway, they gonna keep on running whatever they can until they get what you're gonna bite on, and that's what they doing in my life right now. This is all from the Freemasons and all those type of groups. All these groups are working together. They work for Satan. These are all principalities and powers and all of this kind of stuff like that. It goes throughout the earth and goes throughout the world. And all of these people, really, when it comes down to it, are lackeys to the Satan, to the demons and everything like that. So anyway, downtown, downtown Detroit. Why? Nobody has explained that. You got a Baphomet statue, and then if you're not paying attention, you remember the other stuff. Like I said, all gang fights and stuff like that are going out here. These people out here committing murder and all this kind of stuff. They don't know that they're committing themselves to and it's going to those who design this thing to happen the way and the ones who perpetuate and keep it going. They're the ones who are sacrificing your blood, and we keep on just freely giving our blood to this place, so that the evil can continue. So we are the perfect sacrifice right now, continued sacrifice, because we keep doing it to ourselves. All right, this is heaven where Michael and the angels fight against the dragon Satan and his angels. It portrays the ultimate defeat of Satan. People can see this as something to come or something that has already happened. We know that we've been an idea of where it dates back to and how long this war has been happening, because it's not something that's earthly, um, for us to really know, but this thing has been going down for some time, right? We don't really know how long the warfare has been going, but the battle is being fought in the flesh right now, and we got to understand what that is. So anyway, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought, and the dragons fought, and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found anymore in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. This is just telling you who the evil is and what to identify. This is just telling us we're up against. It's telling us what we're up against. We're up against the great dragon that was cast out. Okay, it's the great dragon that was cast out of heaven. He doesn't have a place anymore in heaven, right? And it says it's the dragon was cast out. That we start. Where's our with the old serpent being cast coming here? This is his warfare still by himself. Were cast out with him. He's not by himself. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ, for the accuser day. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and and they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth, uh, and of the sea. See, he say woe. That is a woe unto us because this serpent is come down, has been cast down to us. Woe is unto us, right? Because it says that in the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a few days. So he's serious about this. And we are not understanding enough that we are in this battle with this serpent, this old serpent who's been at war with us before we even knew who we were. Before he was at war with our grandparents and so forth and so on, mother, dad, and the other way, just, so forth and so on. So we've always been at war with the serpent. So really, spiritual warfare, but it's just getting so intense right now. If you are living in this time frame, you need to open your eyes and see it and know and understand the battle that is commenced around you, um, and that we can't give in. And want us to give up all these things spiritually for material things. Think about what these people are trying to tell you. It's the same thing the serpent said to Eve in the first place. Ah, you will not surely die, right? So goes into giving her a dream, selling her a dream. Hey, you can be a god like we are, as a god like we are. It was a big lie, and that's what they're telling you. That's what they want you to sell your what you already got for. So, you know, I hope people are not buying that now, but I know there's a lot of people who are buying it and they want what's in this world right now. And this world is so empty. When you get to the top, it's empty. Why you think they keep on trying to throw bait out there for you and all this kind of stuff like that? You can only do so much. Being a billionaire, you got to be the most miserable person in the world to be a billionaire. Why? You really don't give a crap about that many people out there that you gonna hog all this many resources for yourself? For to what end? To what end? Your own comfort and everything like that. You can be you couldn't be a millionaire and be fine. You got to be a billionaire. And there's got to be people who moving towards even having more and all this kind of stuff. To what end? You can only have so much, and we know that. Yeah, you can eat the space dust and all this other stuff that you can come up with in your mind and your imagination. You can do, but you're still gonna die like I'm gonna die one day. We're gonna die one day. Just that story of Lazarus and the poor beggar. I mean, Lazarus was a poor beggar, but you know what I'm saying. The rich guy, Lazarus. We're gonna die. We're both gonna die. Maybe you can get a little bit extra time out of it, but maybe not. No guarantees for you, just like there's no guarantees for me. I think we see that in the whole situation that happened with Steve Jobs, right? In the end, money's not gonna be able to save you. I know you're looking for something to save you. Gotta meet our maker one day, and we're certainly not about to. I mean,